Hello everyone and welcome back, and today it's Breath of the Wild again. And I'm not sure what's making it so buffery. This is going to be a really fun time if it's going to piss me about like this. Let me try something. Okay, so direct game capture isn't fun. Got that. So yeah, I don't really remember what happened in the last episode, and my setup is significantly worse than it was, which is quite ironic given that I now have 3 screens again. But yeah. So obviously in the last episode we got quite distracted on what we were talking about, because the whole point of this series is supposed to be me elaborating on why I don't like the most popular Zelda game of all time, I Might Just Barf. But yeah, so since then there's a bit of an elephant in the room, and that is Tears of the Kingdom. Obviously I've shown quite a bit of excitement for Tears of the Kingdom. I've been on the side of that game since announcement, really. But since it was announced, I'd become very jaded on Breath of the Wild. I'd become really quite controversial regarding it. Like, that isn't just me trying to be different, I promise. I just don't like Breath of the Wild, and with any luck, it shouldn't be too much. I'm hoping that Tears of the Kingdom is going to resolve my problems, and I have reason to believe it might. So, full disclosure, I have only seen one of the leaks from the art book, and frankly I find it to be inconclusive. But I've been told that Ocarina of Time fans will be happy with this game when it comes out, which is good, because we should always be pleasing the Ocarina of Time fans. I feel like that's like the standard of a good Zelda game that you should probably be trying to beat. Like, Ocarina of Time is a good Zelda game, Majora's Mask is a phenomenal Zelda game, and Breath of the Wild isn't terrible. I've softened a bit on my position, I think, but it doesn't mean I like it. Like, I understand why people do, and I think that's the big difference between ages ago and now. I was failing to understand why people liked Breath of the Wild. You know, to me it was just a relatively mediocre open world game that had slapped the Zelda title onto it. Blimey. I miss having weaponry that worked. Okay. I've got to be really careful because it's plugged into my computer. The PS4 controller is. Okay, so since choosing to play Master Mode for this playthrough, I've since regretted that choice immensely. Because I played on the false impression on the false memory that Master Mode made the game better, when in fact it doesn't, in the slightest. It makes it more difficult, but more difficult very rarely actually means good. You know, it doesn't... games are made with their difficulty in mind when they only have one difficulty at launch, is the point. And Breath of the Wild was absolutely made to be piss easy. Like, it was. Like, there are a couple of things that are cool, like the little delay that the little delay that your the little delay that what Guardians the little delay that Guardians have before they fire now was a pretty cool addition. At least I think that it was a pretty good way of adding to the difficulty. But Breath of the Wild often felt cheap anyway. Like, that's probably not a fair statement to make. Especially as I've just said that I'm reevaluating Breath of the Wild mildly. Like, it's still towards the bottom of my ranking. But having been reminded of a couple of things the game did, I can appreciate it a little bit more. I don't see it as outright blasphemy now, which I did before. Like, I won't lie, I saw it as a kind of blasphemy against what I believe to be the best video game franchise of all time. But now I just see it as a bad idea. You know, Zelda shouldn't have ever been a fully open world, non-linear game. Zelda needs some linearity, even if you can bypass it with sequence breaks. Like, take Metroid. I consider Metroid to be a very open game, if you know how to play it. But there's still structure to it, there's still stuff you're supposed to do. And, funnily enough, Metroid Prime is better than I remember it being. Which is why... okay, so... I somewhat controversially didn't like Metroid Prime all that much. Except the thing is, I really wanted to. Like, I was having a lot of trouble with the idea of 3D Metroid. And while I still think that having to walk around in scanner mode to get 100% is a little bit tedious, I'm at a point where I've got most of the main upgrades and I'm going around looking for artifacts at the moment. And that's not quite so... You know, it wasn't nearly as tedious as I recall it being. There we go. Welcome back. Wait. No. Okay. So, the thing is, obviously I've talked about weapon degradation, and I've talked about music, and I've talked about... In fairness, I kind of ran the mill dry a bit. But... the idea of Breath of the Wild was to take the series back to its roots. At least that's what they said. I don't think they've really achieved that, but that's because I'm not overly struck on it. I'm going to try and pour a drink while I'm sat here. I'm a nightmare, sorry. I didn't really think about how I was going to do this. I kind of just went and yoinked my PS4 controller and started playing. So, yeah. I don't like the push to get rid of linearity in games. You know, I've played a lot of fantastic linear games. And yet I can't deny that the industry, thanks to pushing open world games as much as it has over the years, has created a significantly more popular genre than okay. What am I going to wield? Okay. Mop. I should have gone for the rake. Hoe. Holy shit, this thing's strong. Get away! Broadsword. Well, this is what I mean, you know. So, Breath of the Wild is built with its difficulty in mind, right? Well, hard mode on this game effectively means you can't get through a single fight without wiping out half your weaponry with the more difficult enemies in the game. Now, that just isn't Zelda. You know, at the end of the day, I do believe that a franchise should keep its identity, as it's called. I've said this a million times. Like, the reason why Metroid Fusion is so controversial is because of the fact it didn't follow that simple rule. Ugh, I do hate aiming with a control stick on this thing, but you know. So, Metroid Fusion stripped away the player's freedom. Now, don't get me wrong, I adore Fusion. It is a phenomenal game. It's also far too fucking hard at times. But the thing is, it took a bit of a genre shift, which I am actually okay with series doing that sometimes, especially as, well, Metroid takes blatant reference, like a blatant, like it's a blatant homage to it's a blatant homage to Alien, and there's nothing wrong with that. You know, I think that's pretty nice. I think it's pretty cool that they do that. But I also think that Fusion is a significantly better game than Breath of the Wild. I think that the way it handles all of that is a lot better than the way Breath of the Wild handles its premise. But also, that's because, in fairness, Fusion is fucking heavy on the lore and all that. You know, it's a very, very lore-heavy game. You know, and that lore is built into your gameplay. You know, obviously you have Adam showing you around. That is a brilliant way of handling things. And then you have the SAX, which represents your lost freedom. You know, just marching through the base, destroying everything. That is what it basically represents. Super Metroid Samus, which brilliant. I love that. Obviously I adore Super Metroid. I've made that clear ever since the Hangover stream. But I don't like I don't like the way Breath of the Wild handled its genre shift. You know, it's partly the fact that I think open world games as a genre are just cheap and overdone. You know, I'm sick of everything trying to be the next GTA and Red Dead. Like, but I'm ironically even more done with the idea of everything trying to be. This feels like if they took part of the Dark Souls formula and snuck it into Zelda. I'm not calling this the Dark Souls of Zelda. I'm really not. Like, hard mode kind of is, I would say. But it's like Elden Ring. I know that Elden Ring is new, and this is like 6 years old. Nah, pretty much. Fascinating. Huh. Huh. I'm not getting my point across very well, and this has been a problem with this series so far. It's mostly just me playing and complaining, which is fine. You know, So, if you didn't... Long story short, I'm starting a whole different discussion now, but the reason why it's been a month, well, there's a couple of reasons why it's been a month since the last episode, is because, one, I'm lazy. Two, I had to come back to Cardiff, which meant I was pouring a lot more of my time into other stuff. And three, for the last couple of weeks I've been quite ill. I was still ill when I did my direct reaction, but because they're time sensitive, I just suck up whatever illness I'm experiencing. Sod off. Come on. Come over to me. And stop throwing things at me. Ugh. You see, in most games, I wouldn't mind the enemies healing a little bit. But in this game, they really don't need the extra help. For the love of Christ. No, don't you dare. So insufferable. So, yeah, I don't remember the point I was trying to make, but yeah, so genre shifts. Obviously I've explained that I've been quite ill. Nothing serious, just kind of prohibits filming because of the fact it causes issues with my voice. I know that there was an update that limited how many arrows can be picked up from doing what I'm doing, but I'm going to milk it for all it's worth. I think we've just hit the... Yeah, we've hit the limit. So yeah. So yeah, I'm not being funny. When a game shifts genres, I think it just depends on whether or not I like the game. Like, I won't lie, I'm not going to pretend I'm being objective here. You know, it doesn't make it any less annoying that this is the game that got Zelda popular again. But I'm not going to go pretending that I don't get why it's popular. You know, it's a well-designed game, and as open world games go, this is one of the better ones. Having said that, open world games as a whole are not fun. Like, yeah, you have the odd couple, like, Spider-Man works as an open world game. You know, it's nothing too serious, and it's more about the plot, which... Well, the plot of Spider-Man PS4 remains straightforward. You know, there's none of this, oh, Spider-Man needs to recover his lost memories. No, it's an open world game where you can just... where the story is still linear. But you can go and, you know, explore. And I don't think that... I don't like modern open world games at all. They follow a very straightforward Ubisoft formula, and I'm really hoping that that Tears of the Kingdom is going to fix that. Because the Zelda formula was, not to exaggerate at all, but I'm going to exaggerate, it was perfect. You know, that they explore overworld for stuff, that collect items that help with your progression, that sort of thing. And to get rid of that felt... well, it felt wrong. You know, it wasn't a necessary change, and they could have adjusted it a little bit. You know, I don't like Link Between Worlds either, although I like it significantly more than I like Breath of the Wild. But you know, I don't think that... Yeah, I think you can have a lot of fun with Breath of the Wild. I certainly did a long time ago. Like, my first time playing Breath of the Wild was a blast. I sank 300 hours into it on the Switch alone. You know, I've sank significantly more on PC since I started modding the game, but I got to thinking a little bit after the Master Cycle DLC, the Champion's Ballad, and I realised I just didn't like the game as much as I thought I did. Like, I was one of those that for a while couldn't go back to the old Zelda games because of this game, and yet I've played an immense amount of Majora's Mask. By the way, that series will also be continuing. I've been playing so much of Majora that I actually think that for a while I was slightly blinded by, well, recency bias, for lack of a better term. Leave me alone! Leave me alone. this is what I mean when I say it takes the piss. Like, I'm sure this will be significantly easier once I've done a few shrines, but it's just taking the piss a little bit. Like, there's a difference between your early game being difficult and your early game not being fun. And I think Breath of the Wild always had the problem where, with the exception of the Great Plateau, which is the best part of Breath of the Wild, because of the fact that it's traditional Zelda. Like, it is. It's not... You know, it... I know what I'm talking about here. But, like, just to... That's so odd. I can see the thing there. Give me a sec. Maybe that's what that was for, then. To identify this. Little landmass. Blimey. I do think that the crafting mod is probably going to be something that I'm going to be grateful for later in this playthrough. Blimey. What did she just say? That's kind of a mood, though. I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, I want to enjoy Breath of the Wild. I really do. Like, I know that it probably looks like I'm just being miserable for the sake of being miserable and being a very set in my ways traditionalist. And yeah, let it be known that I am basically a stubborn, set in my ways traditionalist. Like, you know, I like things the way they were when I got into them. You know, I think Mario wouldn't hurt to spice it up a little bit. I don't think that Paper Mario had the right idea in spicing things up a little bit. Although, in fairness, a move away from turn-based combat is always okay in my books. That's not the problem. You know, Super Paper Mario is brilliant, but there were some story choices I don't agree with, namely the choice to lessen the story with the removal of character names. Hello, Tanabe. I know what you did. I think it was Tanabe. I don't know. But yeah, like, full disclosure, I am a GameCube era fan. You know, I think Nintendo were at their best during the GameCube. I actually, you know, the 64 is my favourite console of all time. You know, it has some of my absolute favourite games, and I don't know. That isn't why Majora is my favourite Zelda. Majora is my favourite Zelda because Majora is the best Zelda. Like, there's no two ways about that to me. You know, I grew up hating Majora, and then I learnt how to play the fucking thing. And I know what I've just said about Breath of the Wild, and I appreciate that. Like, I appreciate that, like, a game needs to still be fun despite being difficult. Majora was always fun. And you do have to put in a little bit of legwork to engage with it properly. Like, I appreciate that I'm never going to understand. Like, I'm never going to go back to understanding why people get so confused with the game. It's not like Skyward Sword where I've beaten the game once and I still can't figure out what the fuck is going on there. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm a defender of Skyward Sword. I like Skyward Sword. I didn't for years, but I do now. I think it's a very nice game. But blimey, I've always hated Lizalfos. They're just really annoying. Go away. I would appreciate it if you lot wouldn't come after me when I'm busy. Okay. Rock salt. Love that. But yeah, I appreciate that there's a lot of legwork to go to adore Majora as much as I have. And in fairness, I only realised it was my favourite Zelda game when I was playing a randomizer one day. You know, for years I've been giving my answer of best Zelda game in varying... You know, the answer varied a lot, put it that way. One day I'd be answering Breath of the Wild, and yes, I was answering Breath of the Wild for a long time. The next day I'd be answering Ocarina of Time, although it's only since I've 100%ed the game that I've been able to actually say that. You know, if I was talking in terms of 100%ing the game, and by that I mean actually 100%ing, not this half-assed thing people call 100%ing when they're going on about how optional the Koroks are, then there is only one game that I could, in good faith, give 100%, and that is Majora's Mask. Like, 100%ing Majora's Mask is less of a chore than 100%ing any other Zelda game is, because of the fact that the side content is the content in Majora. You know, if I didn't do a lot of mainline story because of the timeline the game was made on. And that's okay. That's not a slight against the game at all. It's my favourite Zelda, but if I were to go off of story, then Twilight Princess gets it easily. But if I were to go off of vibes, Wind Waker gets it. But if I were to go off of best items, Ocarina of Time gets it. And that's not even entering the realm of 2D games, in which I have back and forthed on Link to the Past and Minish Cap as many times as you can count. Like, I actually never stop changing my mind on that, and I probably won't ever. This is why Wind Waker and Twilight Princess get equal measuring, as do Link to the Past and Minish Cap. Because Link to the Past is my beautiful, I know it like the back of my hand now game. And that is fun. Don't touch me. Uh-oh. Game takes the piss. I do like that the game over button, like the game over thing, recolours based on why do I do this to myself? Based on what element you're killed by. I think that's pretty cool. But I'm gonna kill these bastards just so we're clear. They don't get to just fucking assault me. We gotta get a horse at some point because I'm not using amiibo. By the way, amiibo are bullshit, and I don't think it's a practice that should be supported. I do occasionally buy amiibo because, one, boycotts don't work. They just don't. I'm sorry, they don't. And that is about as much as I'm willing to say about that. But more importantly, I buy the figures to be figures, and I mostly only buy the Smash ones, so Banjo-Kazooie is basically what I bought. I did buy Metroid ones. I was supposed to sell them. I never did. I just couldn't bring myself to be that person. Sod off. Bitches think they can be like me. Fucking hell. I don't know why I actually just said that. I'm sorry, I actually do have a little bit of shame. Oh, God. Didn't seriously think that this time you were going to win that fight, did you? Not without your little backup archer. Oi, you. I do appreciate that. Right, what am I throwing out in my inventory for this? I don't really need a Korok leaf right now. And can you turn away so I can climb up that ladder, bitch? Okay. Master Mode adding in those little Octorok platforms is something that I quite like. Ah, fuck. That's a bit of a problem. Have you not got... I hate how inconsistent dropped from those fuckers are. Wait. What bows have I got? Well, that was a horrible moment of sensitivity going wrong. A spiked bokeh bow is always a good thing to have. Already 40 minutes in and I've said next to nothing of worth. But yeah, I loved Breath of the Wild when I first got it. I was a little bit pissed off with a couple of elements of it, a couple of small details. I felt a little bit misled on a couple of elements. Yeah, first of all, I was quite annoyed when they didn't have any more items than just the first area. Like, I won't lie, it did feel a bit crap. That wasn't why I felt misled. I felt misled on the thing about a crafting system. I was under the impression that there was a crafting system in the game, and I don't know where I got that idea from, but I believed that there was... Fuck, Yeah. I was under the impression that there'd be a crafting system. There wasn't. There was just very basic cooking. You know, I was annoyed about that, especially as I did get irritated about the weapons a bit. I regret to inform that I was one of the people that went after James Stephanie Sterling. Well, I wasn't, but like I was on the side of them, if that makes sense. Like, I don't agree with my standpoint on that whole thing now, but I was one of those that was laughing at the idea of being like, I don't. Well, they shouldn't have had bad takes then, and that was a stupid thing of me to say. Like, I don't know why I'm acting like I was as bad as the people that doxed the site. I was like, how old was I? Like 14. No, that was bad. Like, I was definitely like, this game is definitely way more than a 7 out of 10. What idiot would ever rank it like that? This idiot. In fact, future me would 100% dislike current me. Wonderful. Okay. Okay. There we go. But like, you know, people get way too defensive about this game. The point I'm trying to get, like, I won't lie, this isn't one of the Switch's. Actually, no, I do think it's one of the Switch's better games. Metroid Dread is the Switch's best original game. Like, it's not even close. It's faithful to its series. It's not too easy, and it's, well, incredibly well designed. But you know, but by the way, the whole I'm ill thing isn't actually over. I'm just trying to pretend it is. But yeah, utter nightmare, the way that this game gets defended. So, yeah. Okay. Okay. There we go. We'll sweep up around here and then we'll probably call it there because it's been ages. Like, I'm supposed to be cutting back on the length of these as well because I don't really like filming for an hour. But Breath of the Wild is kind of a hard game to do like in small chunks. Zelda games in general you kind of have to do in like big ones. What I'm probably going to do is I'm probably going to like, I haven't decided yet, but I'm gonna film the blah 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 blah. I didn't mean to do that. So yeah, big and dumb fuck. Okay, so we are going to be wanting a horse, so that will probably be the next thing we get to do, and I believe that will mean we get to do a little bit of praising Breath of the Wild. Okay, so I don't know why. What you got for me, Beetle? Didn't mean to get those. Okay. I didn't mean to. Oh, for the love of Christ. I'm being a dumb fuck, so I think this is probably a good place to call it. So yeah, I think I got across my concept a little bit here, but we'll go from there. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.